I didn't need God, and neither did anyone else. The only people who did were weak.
Bought a practice and started another practice. All of a sudden, things weren't on track.
The great plans started to unravel. Lord, where are you? Where are you in this? I was afraid that we would lose everything.
We got to survive and get through this.
As soon as I knew that he was coming in, I would brace myself.
You're going to give up, bail out.
The different things were all crashing.
I think the hardest part was not knowing the answer when you were a person who always kind of had a plan, had an answer.
My mom always likes to spend time with us and do things that we like to do. She's very wise.
From a very young age, incorporated God and Christianity into my life and kept me on the right path. Every day just telling me how much God loves me and how to live a godly life.
Her fire for being very driven to honor the Lord, follow the Lord's will is definitely a bright fire.
She loves me a lot and she's a really great Christian. She's the more outgoing one.
My dad, he's always been around me, whether it be like with sports and just doing stuff outside. Obviously the club soccer, he's been coaching it since I was about 7. He's always been encouraging me.
He's smarter than anyone I've ever met. He's very, very driven. In his drive, he's also extremely gentle, very selfless.
He's really outdoorsy and just really great in the outdoors and loves to do adventures with us and likes to help us pursue our dreams and yeah.
I'm definitely a planner. What's the long plan? What's the long game? How do you get there? What are the steps that need to happen?
This is the Lord's and this family that he created, that he put us together. He made each one of us individuals within this family. How do we let each person shine for his glory intentionally? It's very much kinetic energy around here. I think our family is also very peaceful.
Our kids were so young that we didn't expose them to the struggles and the problems that we were going through that much.
I was afraid that we would lose everything.
I have my dental profession and I'm working in that practice. And I see orthodontic and prosthodontic patients all day long. If you own your own practice, you can create your own schedule to some degree and be your own boss, but it does require a lot of work and a lot of risk in that you have to run the practice and the company. And then the other company is called DevRight, and that's the development of ideas done right for the dental world. We work with professionals who are speakers, who want to be a better communicator, someone who can influence the audience in a more compelling way.
I write with a group of other women, and our goal as writers is to help people fall more in love with God's Word. I've taught a class at our church for the last 10 years to newly married women.
I'll go to college, I'll go to the pre-dental program, I'll major in biology, and then I'll graduate and go to dental school, and then I'll become a dentist. I had a best friend who played on the soccer team, was in church group with me, and he was like, a dentist? I mean, I know your dad's a dentist, but why a dentistry? Well, that's what I'm going to be. And he looked at me and was like, well, how do you know what you're going to be? And I was like, how do you not know what you're going to be? That's what I'm going to be. That's what I feel like the Lord's called me to be. And he goes, you're weird. And I said, you're weird. It was not even in my lexicon of thought that you don't know what you're going to be. I may have a clear vision of where I want to go and what I want to do in a very detailed, driven path. That's just how my mind works.
I was a freshman in college, and I decided that I no longer needed God. I didn't need God, and neither did anyone else. The only people who did were weak, and they just needed him as a crutch. I remember exactly where I was on campus when I was walking to class, and I just thought, everything I've ever gotten, I've gotten myself. Everything I've done for myself. I don't need to give credit to a God that isn't there. My will be done. I was God of my own life. My junior year of college just felt very lonely. Even when I had people all around, I just felt like there was this void. I would come home from college and visit, and I'd have to change the radio stations because they'd fade in and out. I would land on pastors' sermons, and instead of just going ahead and looking for the music that I wanted to hear, I would stop on those sermons And it started to really have an impact on me. My junior year, I just remember waking up one Saturday morning and just praying, Lord, I know that I haven't prayed in so long, and I don't even really remember how to pray. But I remember enough about you that this pitiful prayer means something to you. And so if you would take every friend I have away and just replace them with you, just please do that. I just want you. He did just that. He did just that. I found a church by myself, just started reading his word and getting to know his character.
Really deep and good walk with the Lord growing up through high school separated me a little bit from a lot of my friends. I wasn't always involved or invited in a lot of the extracurricular activities that always went on in high school. I think a turning point really was my senior year in college. Someone came to the door of my house. It was another religion, and we just went at it talking, and I was debating and they were debating. At the end, it was almost like we were at a stalemate. We shook hands and went our separate ways. The Lord pressed on my heart that, hey, get even more serious than you are. So if I'm serious about this, I need to know more about what I believe. I took a year to play soccer again and to do theology school. 3 months in Sweden, 2 months in Austria. Every day, hours just studying, praying, reading, debating, and talking. Definitely a pivotal point in my relationship with Christ. One of my thoughts on dentistry after going to theology school was it's going to be an excellent way to reach other people, care for their immediate needs, and then care for their eternal needs.
I didn't grow up as a little girl who wanted to be a mom and couldn't wait to be a mom. The minute I held my daughter, it became clear that that's what I was going to be doing, and I loved it. It was just a paradigm shift in my life. It was something that I was born to do and wanted to be intentional in doing.
I was very driven in dental school, all in on studying. The idea of dating right then was not on the table. I was at a church service. Julie happened to be there with another friend, and we got introduced, and I was just like, whoa, wow.
I looked at him and I just thought, well, if I could build a guy, that's what he'd look like. That's exactly what he would look like. We had a mutual friend. She and I would walk after work. She was telling me that she had left a message for Brody on his answering machine, telling him that he should ask me out.
One day I was driving home in the fall. There were 2 girls out walking on the road, and I knew one of them from college. So I pulled off to say hi.
This Jeep drives up.
Julie was standing next to her.
It's Brody Hildebrand.
You girls want to ride home? It's a little bit far from home. Shauna was like, yes, we do. Shauna got in the back seat, and I was like, that's weird.
Which left me to sit in the front with him.
And Julie got in the front seat, and I was like, okay. It did seem a little bit like they were very eager to get a ride home, but it was hot, so I thought maybe they're just being nice. We just having a great conversation.
But all the while I knew as soon as he got home, he was going to hear the message that he should ask me out.
Drive him home, drop him off, say, goodbye, and then I head back home. When I get home, I go to studying, and then later that night, no cell phones, I check my answering machine, and there's a message from Shauna. You gotta meet this girl and all, you gotta ask her out. Okay, Shauna, I gotta get through boards. And she said, you're an idiot, She was like, just go out on a date. I was so scheduled. I said, all right, in 2 weekends on Saturday night, I'm taking a break from 6 to 9. I remember the first date because I was like, my breath was taken away. I was like, man, what would I even do with a girl this beautiful? Like, I don't even know how to handle this. I thought she was amazing. I was just like, I already had this plan, and I'm not going to stop on the plan. I've got another month of studying and the boards, and then I'd love to, talk after that. After boards were over, I called her back, and I think in her mind, she was like, well, you're lucky I'm still available. And I was, but God had a plan.
Jesus was first in his life. I really hadn't met a guy who was so clear in his faith and walking it out. We got married 2 weeks after he graduated from dental school. I started working for a world-renowned brand and doing public relations for them. He'd finished dental school, he'd finished the residency, and we had been looking at this as kind of a finish line.
The plan was going according to everything we had put together, and bought a practice and started another practice.
I'd quit working and we had little kids at home.
Everything we had planned for the 6 years, 7 years was on track, and then all of a sudden, things weren't on track.
The great plans started to unravel. Everything kind of started to fall apart from a business sense. All these great plans that we had, people that we were doing business with, everything started to shift.
How are you going to deal with this? Are you going to bail out? Are you going to give up? Are you going to quit?
We were prayerful about everything we did. It wasn't like we were going off on our own and just making haphazard decisions that caused these situations to happen. And so I realized that I was confused at that. I can remember driving and just hitting my steering wheel and just saying, Lord, where are you? Where are you in this? I wanted him to fix it right then. He didn't, and things did get worse. There weren't a lot of things that I could fix. I couldn't fix business decisions. I couldn't do any dentistry. I couldn't do, I couldn't fix anything. The Lord really impressed upon me that my role was to pray and support Brody.
I went into a very survivalist type mode of, we got to survive and get through this.
The different things that we had going were all crashing around us.
From my dental practice, I had to go about 18 months without taking any type of money home. So we had to survive. I do remember coming home a lot, sitting in the driveway, just praying and kind of resetting my mind. It's like coming home from battle. You can feel very alone. You can feel attacked. You can feel like there's a war going on that you can't see, and you're banging your head up against the wall, like everything you try and gets pushed back on and fails.
I would want him to come home. I'd be excited about him coming home. But as soon as I knew that he was coming in, I would brace myself for what bad news is he going to give me.
I came home and I had to try to reset and go in, and sometimes we just come in and I would cry and talk and share that. I guess it was hard because I had to share I didn't know.
I think the hardest part was not knowing the answer when you were a person who always kind of had a plan, had an answer. And I'd say the hardest part was admitting that to her. Yeah, the hardest part was admitting that to her and thinking I let her down. But her saying that I didn't let her down. Kind of thinking I was a failure. And I was failing her and the family. And she didn't ever accept that. It's not that she didn't say, no, you're not. It's like she tried to banish that from my mind. And yeah, we were going through a lot of stuff with the family and my dad as well, so.
Everywhere we looked, it just seemed to be chaos. It was about 7 years of turmoil, and that included, family illness, death. Everything seemed heavy.
And I didn't have my father. He had Alzheimer's, and so he couldn't help me. So not having someone who it was in the profession and in the world that I'd grown up with, able to help.
I was afraid that we would lose everything. Everything started to fall apart.
Take a minute or two in the car.
Satan does not want you to be victorious.
Trusting him is giving him everything.
Once I started to understand spiritual warfare, it was just a complete shift.
I'm a Christian. I've been doing devotionals.
I accepted Christ, how I should live from now on.
Like, I've really just seen him work in my life.
We live in a fallen world and it's hard.
If you need to take it all away, take it all away.
If we have to sit in this for a long time, we'll wait on you. But we're not moving without you. We had kids, and I just kind of thought that everything was going to go in an upward trajectory, and that's not what happened at all. Everything started to fall apart from a business sense. Every time we turned around, there was just a gut-wrenching issue that was hard. Not wanting to blame God, but at a certain point also saying, well, Lord, I know you can fix this. I learned a lot more about spiritual warfare. I read in Daniel, he wants to hear from the Lord, and the Lord is silent, and he really needs to hear from the Lord. Finally, an angel comes, and the angel says, I was dispatched the first time you prayed, but I was in combat until I got here now. There are things that you can pray for, and it's not the Lord withholding from you, but there is a spiritual component to it. Satan does not want you to be victorious in your walk with the Lord.
Julie was just a prayer warrior, a support warrior, someone who was unwavering in helping push me to get through it at the right times, cheering me on at the right times, questioning and pushing me to take actions that maybe I was hesitant to take.
Our kids were so young that we didn't expose them to the struggles and the problems that we were going through that much. We didn't want to burden them with fear or anxiety at the ages they were at.
I vaguely remember some parts of it, but not like, I didn't know all about it at the time.
They were the joy for us. They didn't even realize it. Very thankfully, our home was the safe place.
It was the place of positivity that we could go to. Drive up and take a minute or two in the car just to eliminate everything, pray, and go in, and then go in and have everybody run and jump on me and have that Disneyland experience just for a second, you know.
In the living room.
In the living room.
When I wouldn't know what to pray, I would pray, Lord, I know you love us. And we trust you. And when you're in a season of turmoil and hard, those two things are really hard to say. You're being tempted to not believe that he loves you and that he can't be trusted and that you need to go your own way and figure this out. And so sometimes I just sat in prayer repeating those two things.
You're invested and you put time and energy and money and sweat. Your mind is, this is the right way. And then I just say, you know what, Lord, I release it. I give it back to you. If you need to take it all away, take it all away. And I trust you. It won't be pretty. It won't be easy. It won't be financially lucrative. We need to be able to give that up.
I went from banging my hand on the steering wheel and saying, Lord, where are you, to even if a solution comes and it's not from the Lord, I don't want it. If we have to sit in this for a long time, we'll wait on you. But we're not moving without you. We're not going anywhere without you. Once I started to understand spiritual warfare, it was just a complete shift. My prayer life changed, and then so did our situation.
I went outside and sat outside the house, and I was like praying, Lord, bring some type of hope or salvation. And this guy walked by with his wife. They came up to say hi, and ended up it was a dentist, and he was looking for a job. And I needed someone to fill a job. Okay, Lord. I didn't expect that. To me and to Julie, it was like God saying, I might just have someone walk by. You know, that's how I work sometimes. The amazing thing is that, you know, God takes care of you in other ways. I had gone through this dual residency, And I came out with 2 specialties, and there were only 12 people in the country that had these 2 specialties. So I started lecturing, I started teaching. There was a huge demand for information on what I had done. That portion of my career took off like I did not expect that. I went from lecturing a couple times a year to 50, 60 times a year. It took off faster, and I didn't have a plan for that. I just started, yes, I'll do this, yet taking everything. Amazingly, that's what sustained us. The only thing that was bringing in income to pay the bills and feed the kids and, survive. There were 2 points where buying a company and then selling a different company that were the big turning points, but that didn't mean everything was okay. So it was a years and years long process.
It was not God withholding anything from us. He's true. I think the biggest thing I learned was that He's true. Okay, Lord, I'd rather have nothing in you than everything and not you. But I'm sticking with you, regardless of what you do with our lives. And what He did was beautiful. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful. Definitely want them to understand that everything just doesn't always go the way you want it to go, but you don't crumble and you don't crash. You have faith in the Lord and that He is always on the throne. He's got a plan, and even when everything looks like it's a mess, just wait on the Lord. We don't want to just plow the path for them. We don't want to ever give them the impression that, the way things are now is just how it is with our family. That's not the case, and it may not be tomorrow.
We like being at home. And we called a lodge. We gave it a name because we wanted the kids to have a place to live life and enjoy life and not just come and watch TV.
I like hanging out here, going paddleboarding, fishing, kayaking, doing stuff around the house.
I like being outside. I like paddleboarding on, a lake or a pond, and I like going on bike rides, and I like to read a lot.
All of us like sports a lot, so we'll just play sports, football, pickleball.
We like to surf, and we're really outdoorsy and like to spend time on the lake and spend time out here.
Brody's teaching the kids to play chess. I'm not, but he is.
Yeah,
so
play chess
they've
together.
each taken an interest in that.
Relying on the Lord and being action-oriented. And we share with them, we talk with them about what we had to do to survive.
As they become adults, and when things aren't easy, they could very easily say, well, it's just hard for me, and this is terrible. I never saw Mom and Dad struggle. What's wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. We live in a fallen world, and it's hard, but the Lord is there to go through all of this with us. Every year before school starts, we read The Dangerous Journey, which is a kids' adaptation of The Pilgrim's Progress. We're going to do it this year, even as our oldest is going into college. It is just a great reminder of the world we live in. We are on a journey with the Lord, and that He has given us the narrow gate and the path, and there are things that are going to try to get us off that path. And our conversations have changed as they've gotten older. The things that are trying to take them off the path have gotten more intense.
I'm a Christian. I've been doing devotionals on my own and reading the Bible, and then also books that talk about the Bible and explain kind of the Christian faith and how to walk with Christ.
I accepted Christ sitting with Him on the porch and then telling me all about it, what it means, how I should live from now on. With private Christian schools, really hard to find people that are like actually for the Lord and living their life for the Lord. They're in the Christian school, they go to church. My parents want me to do this and these are the rules, but it's not their faith. It's kind of their parents' faith.
One of the challenges would just be like fully accepting that all of it is true. When I have questions, I would want to, know a lot of answers. I did get a lot of answers throughout high school with my teachers in Bible classes and just asking questions and seeing why Christianity is true. A lot of people who study science just kind of see it like the world is materialistic, a naturalistic worldview that really doesn't make sense or answer all of the questions that everybody has about like reality and life and death.
I definitely feel God's presence, and especially when I'm maybe not in a Christian setting. Really, when I get out into other places like club soccer, I really feel God's presence, and the difference between how they live and how I live, convicting me and showing me how to show his love to other people, especially non-Christians, what it means to me and how it can change them.
So, like, when I was little, I accepted Christ, but, like, as I've gotten older, like, I've really just seen him work in my life and how he's, like, just impacted me. It's been really impactful. With people pleasing. Just, like, finding my true identity in Christ and, like, how he's changed me. Just, like, being my closest friend.
I accepted Jesus when I was young, but I wasn't discipled, and I think that has colored a lot of the way we parent. I just wanted to make sure that as they were growing up, that we talked about Jesus. He wasn't just for Sundays on church, but he was a part of our everyday lives.
We have a blessing dinner once a year where we talk about just things that we're thankful for, and that's all that we talk about.
Hey, let's say, something that we really admire about this person, about mom, or about this child. And everybody has to go around the room and come up with something. Creating a positive faith family environment that is uplifting.
They always find the positive side to things, reiterate what Christ would do.
They like always let us ask questions, and they always push us to like read our Bible and like memorize verses. When I was younger, I didn't like it, but like now I like enjoy doing it. Encouraging us to get in the Word and like encouraging us in our walk with Christ.
It is just a time of intensity and a time of struggle for a lot of parents, and they're not alone. It is scary to raise kids at this time. For every generation before, the threats were physical threats known that would have to get close enough to your kid to harm them, but that's not the case anymore. The technology available and the things kids have available to them is super scary. There are all kinds of avenues to your kids, and they don't have to be under your roof, or they can get under your roof without you knowing. They don't have to pass through the front door, but the Lord did say, be fruitful and multiply. He has told us to trust him. He has told us that he's on the throne and that he's not leaving the throne. You are really thinking that everything is going to be gone. You really get to see what you do believe, and you really get to see if you trust the Lord.
Trusting him is giving him everything, and even the things that you work hard at. And I had to give up some stuff that I didn't want to give up.
Faith is not circumstantial, and that he is there in all of the hard times.
We didn't even know that the things that had happened a decade before, or 6 years before, how they came together to help us get through it. He can be very direct in giving you the plan and pressing on your heart. This is what you're to do, and you know it's very clear. And he can be very quiet and let you figure it out some of the time. That doesn't mean he's not at work. Even in those months and years of silence or of lack of a concrete answer, you have to trust and you have to continue to be faithful, because he's working in the background and he is doing things you can't see.
Surround yourself with good friends that have the same goals as you and are driven and want to know Christ more and live for him. If you're not with those kind of people, maybe separate yourself, because friends are really powerful.
Making sure that you're relying on your faith to trust in the Lord even when it's like difficult.
God created us for a certain time and a certain place. We can get really frustrated with where the world is right now, but he chose this time and this place for us. That thought gives me comfort. Also reminding our kids of that. They have been born for such a time as this. They have been born in this time in history, and the Lord was intentional about that, and he obviously has something for them to do here.
Go out and make disciples of the world. And it starts with your family at home.
When you are in a struggle, lean into Jesus. Don't decide that he doesn't care, doesn't love you anymore. Go all in with Jesus. Our youngest, Hartley, she is currently 14 years old.
One time, funny story, she's so excited to see me, she came running in and dove headfirst into my face, broke my nose at home, just broke it. I let out a yelp and Julie came in, and Hartley was all scared, and I looked at Julie and I could tell I didn't look normal, and so I had to fix it real quick, reset it, and then we kept going, and I told her it was okay. I'll just know to turn my head a little bit more.
God is love, and love comes from God. In 1 John, the Bible tells us that God is not only all-loving, but that He actually is love itself. The heart of the Parent Compass television show is to bring the transforming love of God to families everywhere. In every Parent Compass episode, true stories reveal family struggles and how their lives were radically changed by the love of God. Parent Compass, an award-winning television series, is completely funded by people like you. If you have been touched by God and you want to share God's love to others, would you please pass it on? Jesus tells us to go into all the world and to tell about Him. With your donation, you allow us to take this television show into many different nations and in many different languages, free of charge. And a portion of your donation goes to Parent Compass Outreach to feed starving children. Your gift does so much. To make your tax-deductible gift, go to parentcompass.tv/donate. That's parentcompass.tv/donate. And thank you for sending love and hope around the world.